Bloody hell, lads, it's as hot as a dog's donger out here. Alright, let's get onto it. Stinking hot, like a nun's chuff. Alright. Chapter 3, Victim of Changes, that's right. Man, victim of climate change, I tell you what. Yikes, I just had a cold shower and blooming hot again. You probably can't even bloody hear me. Sorry, ears. I said it's bloody hot. Righto. No mucking about. Let's get into the votes. Suzie was driving me towards the Grand National Assembly for today's historic vote. It was a big day. I was thinking if my attempt of changing the Constitution would end any differently than Alfonso's. I looked out the window as the noise of the city diminished and saw that we were already inside the territory of the palace complex. The palace complex was large, housing the buildings of all government branches in the centre of Holsword. It was one of the biggest developments in Swordland. The maroon palace stood on a small hilltop surrounded by trees. We passed by the palace and entered the forest that divided it and the Grand National Assembly. We drove on the small road inside the forest, accompanied by the sound of birds and bugs coming from the tall trees. Probably galahs, eh? Are you okay back there, sir? I'm stressed about today. I'm sure it's going to work out fine, sir. Don't stress yourself. Suzie made a left turn out of the forest and entered the vast garden area of the assembly. Did you know that Mr. Tarquin Sol came to Holsword this morning? I've heard some politicians were talking about it today. Apparently the first time he's coming to the city in the last 5 years. I thought that he left the mainland and lived in Duru Island, never to return back to politics, but they were saying he might be here to exercise his Member of Honour rights for the first time. Slow down, Serge. Are you sure? Yes, sir. I overheard several men talking about it around the gardens of the Assembly. Could just be rumours, of course. Do you think he's here about today's vote? Yeah, well, what else would he bloody be here for, you plonker? Yes, Serge, most likely. Well, I'm sure he will support you, sir. Well, we'll learn soon enough. Serge drove inside the gates of the parkway and parked the car, as is his job. We've arrived, sir. Thanks, Serge. Of course, sir. Good luck with the vote. I walked on the white stone stairs of the Grand National Assembly. The entrance looked like a temple gate from the classical era. Very nice. Inside were the vast corridors of wood and white stone, with the crowd of people that were walking slowly towards the parliamentary hall. Suddenly I noticed Lucian emerge from the crowd of packed politicians in front of me. He looked relieved when he saw me. I wonder if he thought I wasn't going to arrive. Ah, sir, there you are. Have you seen Mr. Vice President? He's nowhere to be found. He better not be getting sloshed. No, I don't think you'll miss a vote this important. I hope you're right, but anyway, how about you? Are you ready to finally face the Assembly, sir? Lucian, I've heard something worrying from Serge. No need to worry about anything, sir. Come, we must go inside. Really? You're just going to brush that off? Alright. We follow the crowd. That makes me suspect he's got like a second motive. We followed the crowd into the parliamentary hall. After we were inside, we split with Lucian to take our designated seats. I went up to the elevated platform overlooking the hall and sat down. I waited as MPs slowly started to gather inside the hall and take their places. After a while, I saw Gloria walk to her elevated seat at the centre of the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will shortly begin with today's agenda of USP's proposed changes to the Constitution of Swordland. After a while, everyone was on their seats. According to the Constitution, constitutional amendments require 2/3 of the members of the Assembly to vote in favour of it. Oh, what? I thought it was just a pure majority. Oh, I've played this one wrong, lads. This is not going to work out. I've been trying to aim for that 51% pass mark. Oh well, if it doesn't go through, at least I'll still have my powers, I suppose. If the vote succeeds, the proposal will be sent to the Supreme Court, and I'm still going to look like the good guy no matter what happens, right lads? The proposal in question includes these points. She started reading the proposal to the Assembly. First section of the changes, Article 57, is modified with the following. She continued reading the proposal, highlighting each section. 2. Paragraph 36, she went on, may not exercise his right to, and on, justices of the Supreme Court. Most of the MPs seemed like they were already falling asleep. Historically accurate. A simple majority is considered, and the seat was really hurting my back. Section 4, paragraph 44A, it felt like an eternity had passed when she finished reading the changes. I hereby invite all of you to vote. She struck her gavel down, which echoed in the hall. The sound made some MPs jump in shock as they woke up from their deep sleep. That will require a 2/3 majority in favour of it to pass. You may now cast your votes. I felt the need to stand up and stretch. I looked at the hall from our elevated platform overlooking it. Most members of the Assembly got up from the seats and joined one of the many group discussions that emerged around the hall, while some immediately walked up to the ballot box to cast their votes. Go down to the hall where all the MPs are. Keep watching from your seat. For democracy, I'm expecting your votes. Go down to the hall where the MPs are. As soon as I went down the stairs, Kazaro Kibiner approached me. Mr. President, how are you feeling about the vote? I'm hoping for the best. The best outcome for this proposal is for it to fail. I have lost my respect for you, Mr. Rain. There are many problems of Swordland that need to be addressed, and you stall us with these so-called democratic reforms. I know you will fail. You will eventually lose the entire administration. You will lose the game. What a prick. And I hope to be there when it happens. Keep hoping, Mr. Kibner. He laughed. Suddenly he turned away from me and walked towards his seat. Then I saw Lucian waving at me. He was among a group of people at the corner of the hall when I walked up to him. On my way I bumped into Mansoon Lek. Mr. President, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. The bluish guy, he probably won't like me. He gave me a cold stare. Excuse me. He straightened his tie and walked away. I finally finished my walk towards Lucian without further interruptions. He was in a conversation with a member of our party. He looked at me when he saw me approach. Sir, did you vote yet? We have to be quick. What's the rush? I'll explain on the way. I signed my vote and prepared the envelope. Together with Lucian, we then walked into the centre of the hall to cast our votes. He kept rushing me throughout the process. Gloria bowed her head slightly in respect after she saw us vote. Lucian pulled my arm and whispered in my ear, Mr. President, there's an issue. Tarquin Sola's here. Yeah, I know. You have to accelerate the voting. We need everybody to vote as soon as possible. We don't know what he can pull off right now, but if the members of the Assembly see him, he might influence them against the proposal. Interesting. Play the naive, shall I? Should I talk to him? I advise against that right now. People should focus on the vote at hand. We can't let him sabotage it with his big personality. Alright, can you speed it up? Can't do that. Don't worry, there's already a time limit and we're abiding by the rules. Members of the Assembly are used to this process. Sudden Lucian pulled me back. Sir, what do we do? He pointed at the back of the Assembly near one of the exits. When I looked closely, I saw Tarquin Sol sitting at the very back. He looked like a shadow of his past. Old age seemed to get to him, but he still had the same charisma. Some MPs had already gathered around him in awe and respect. The Assembly gradually went quiet as people started to notice Tarquin Sol's presence in the hall. He was a bit grim, lad. I'll go talk to him. We should refrain from giving him the spotlight and recognition he expects. Maybe you could address him after the vote. As I was talking to Lucian, I spotted Kazaro Kibner walking to the back of the hall towards Tarquin Sol. He bowed in front of Sol and gave him a military salute. Seeing this, more people started to approach him. Suddenly Gloria came up behind us. Gentlemen, why don't you go back to your seats and not stand here near the ballot box? Let's follow the procedures. By the way, we have 251 members today. The Member of Honour is here and has already casted his vote. Did he now? So Mrs. Gloria, how many votes are missing? Only a few. Albin, Claven and 3 other men approached us with envelopes in their hands. The progressive faction of the USP. Okay, and these must be them. Good day to you, gentlemen. Madam Speaker. Good day, Mr. Claven. I didn't expect to see a president who ignores his own party here. Well, a vote is a vote, I guess, right? He smiled and gestured at the men behind him. Let's get this over with, gentlemen. They cast their votes and walked away. Let's have you two back at the seats as well. Alright. We both went back to our seats, and when I returned back to the elevated seats of the Council of Ministers, I saw Peter standing in the chair next to mine. Did you cast your vote? Yes, of course. He looked at Gloria as she and her assistants counted the votes. The Speaker's seat was only a few metres away from our platform. I really hope this proposal goes through. Yeah, I hope so too. Let's see. He tried to get Gloria's attention by waving at her. How many left? Gloria looked at Peter. She looked annoyed. 20 votes left to count. It doesn't look good for you. Peter turned to me. Did you hear that? We're screwed. It's okay, there's hope. Come on. Peter looked uneasy. Peter pointed at where Franz Richter was sitting. Look at him. I'm sure he was behind this mess. You shouldn't have trusted Mr. Richter. It's not over yet, Peter. Don't jump to conclusions. Well... Suddenly, Gloria's loud gavel echoed in the hall, which made everyone watch her attentively. Attention! The voting has been concluded. I was anxious to hear the results. The proposal has 110 ayes and 141 nays. It did not even gather a simple majority. Damn, lads, we got trounced. 110 ayes, so I wonder which groups voted for us. I wonder if the Conservatives split because we privatised too much stuff, or the Libs split because they weren't Lib enough. Thereby, the Grand National Assembly has decisively rejected the changes to the Constitution. The Assembly was roaring with all kinds of different reactions. I felt destroyed. Hey, don't speak for me. I lowered my head and closed my eyes for a second. God, I'm sorry. It's okay, we'll find another plan. I blame the President for this result. His and USP's weak attitude towards real change brought with it an obvious failure. Right. They're just enjoying the privilege and have no real aims or concerns to change the Constitution made by their founding father. Yeah, you're right. I'm just trying to look like the good guy, and, that's fine. It is time to realise that real change will only come from the real reformists. The People's Freedom and Justice Party will keep leading this movement. Hey man, I tried. If my Conservatives split, I don't control the way they vote. Reformist MPs started applauding him. Suddenly I noticed Tarquin's soul slowly stand up from his seat at the back. He was seemingly struggling and using the help of his cane. When he stood up, his gaze wandered around the hall as all of the members of the Grand National Assembly went silent. Keep watching him? I kept watching him as he stared at the MPs. He walked out the exit as two men held the doors for him. Oh, thank God he didn't do anything. Don't get me wrong, we're definitely fucked. Sol and the party are not going to be pleased. Well, we can't change the Constitution, so what? We're still in charge. We'll be losing a lot of support from the party and the people. Let's see what happens. We need to plan an emergency meeting to plan our next moves. After thinking about what just happened, I recollected myself, and together with Peter we left the parliamentary hall. We waited for Serge by the entrance. Yeah, this is painting it like some kind of catastrophe, but all that's happened is I've retained all of my standard powers, and so have the old guard. So, all things considered, how bad is it actually? Like, obviously I would prefer it if we moved towards democracy. Oh, also, shout out to the excellent person in the comments who noted that these notes here actually work. Fantastic. Champion. Alright, let's read the news. Assembly voted against constitutional changes and the radical... yeah, alright. Meeting of the results of the Assembly vote. We met with Lucian and Peter in my office and slowly moved out of the balcony because of the increasing summer heat. Yeah, I feel that. They both looked like they were struggling inside their suits. Peter was trying not to make eye contact and kept letting out depressing sighs. Peter wiped the sweat of his forehead with his napkin. I don't know what to say. I still can't believe we didn't even achieve a simple majority. The party has finally spoken. Yes, we're all targets for the USP leadership now, not to mention Tarquin Sol himself. Yeah, what the hell was that all about? Sol appearing out of nowhere. What do you think was his real intention? Intimidate the Assembly against our proposal, sir, and it seems to have worked. As long as he's around, he will always have influence over this republic which he has built. We should have seen this coming. But he has no authority anymore. While the laws protect him from almost anything and allows him to be a member of the Assembly, he can still propose bills and vote for them. I'd call it proper authority, if you ask me. When you're the founder of the system, you don't need to be sitting in the presidential office to have power. Yeah, that's a good point. Lucian's right. He already showcased his powers at the vote. We must be careful. We must be careful indeed. The party is in disarray since we lost the vote, and with Sol making a comeback, we cannot trust anyone from the party to keep supporting us. We cannot let the party turn against the administration. We must plan our next steps. We should organise a cabinet meeting to discuss the situation. Of course, sir, I'll make the necessary arrangements. We'll be organising a meeting to discuss our current state of affairs and plan our next steps. In the meantime, I will also try and test the waters with our MPs. We can't let the party slip away from under us. Good, I want each minister to give me a report. The party has to learn to respect me. I want a list of every party member who voted against the proposal. I don't know if it's a public or private vote inside the House. I do want to know who voted. Mostly I want to know whether the Conservatives were against it or not. But if it's a private vote, I don't want to accidentally organise a secret service, round-up in order to figure everything out. Alright, I'll just get the ministers to give me a report. Yes, sir. Lucian looked at his watch. I think it's time to conclude our little meeting, sir. There was a tap on my shoulder. Livia Suno had joined us on the balcony. Pardon the interruption, gentlemen. Mr. President, David Vishy is calling upon the upcoming foreign policy meeting. Perfect timing. I'll tell him I'll be right there. Ooh, do love a good foreign policy meeting. My condolences on the vote results, Mr. Rain. Peter. She looked Peter in the eye as she said this and ignored Lucian altogether. Peter's eyes followed her as she walked out. It's getting pretty hot out here. Okay, let's call it finished. You can both go. Alright, gentlemen, see you later. And they left. Alright, I've got one of these. Invitation to a movie premiere. Yeah. Not when there's foreign policy to be conducted. Read the report from Wholesword. USP meeting criticises President. In yesterday's internal USP meeting, a large group of party members, and that's our party, voiced their disappointment in the failed constitutional vote in the Assembly. Lilias Graf criticised President Rain for pursuing change without in-depth research and proper communication between the party members, blaming the President and the Vice President for the failure. Yeah, we'll just pass the buck on this one, right? If the Conservatives tell us that we failed, then I'll say, it's the Libs' fault. And if the Libs try to say that we failed, we'll blame it on the Conservatives. Yeah, just try and be pure Teflon, lads. Alright, Rumburg whistleblower arrives. Now this is the interesting stuff. A high-level agent has escaped from Rumburg and seeks refuge in Swordland. A whistleblower from the Rumburg Security Bureau has escaped to Swordland through the crossing in Estord. Agent Charleston Hailstone has promised to reveal extremely sensitive information about the development of a weapons program. We can give refuge to him and risk antagonising Rumburg or send him back. Grant asylum. That's a zero question about that. Geopolitico. Oh, nice. Bloody hell. Doesn't take long for rumours to escape around here, does it? It's got the OPSEC of a knitting circle. Who is Charleston Heston, and what does he know? That's the question of the day, as President Rain has agreed to grant refuge to this rogue national security agent from Rumburg. After escaping to Swordland, Hailstone promised to reveal sensitive government information in exchange for asylum. Whether Rain's decision will be worth the anger and possible retaliation from the Rumburg government remains to be seen. Well, foreign policy decisions are based on power predictions and predicted outcomes of conflicts. not on whether or not we give them the finger or not. So I think this is going to have zero diplomatic outcome. Okay. No response from them. What do we got? Read the report from Antel, whistleblower in safe house. Aha. After receiving agent Charlton Heston, we have secretly transferred him to a safe house near Antel. The perimeter is guarded by special forces units to ensure no escape or rescue attempt can be conducted by Rumberg intelligence. The agent is currently being interrogated thoroughly to make sure that the preliminary information provided is accurate. Okay, cool. Not a problem. What do we got here? Movie premiere. I'm not going to a movie. It's the only thing left on the table. All right. No, not you. This one. I have been excited to an inclusive preview of Alfred Kubrick's new film, The Morning Shall Come. Kubrick, right. Although I wasn't in much of a movie-going mood, it would have been unpresidential not to attend. With its massive budget and Kubrick's directorial cachet, this drama was set to be a milestone for Swordland's burgeoning film scene. Personally, though, I was just looking forward to spending some time with my family. It was a very hot and sunny day as Serge drove us to the old capital. The film was to be screened in the historic Cinema Anglais de Orléans, the very first cinema in Swordland. Serge had maxed out the air conditioning to keep the Cadilla comfortable. I kept silent through most of our ride on the H1. I couldn't get my mind off the results of the Assembly vote. Do with a bit of aircon right now, I tell you what. Frank fidgeted with his tie as he stared out the window. What's wrong, Frank? Since when do you care what's happening in my life? I've been busy lately, but I'll always have time for you. Busy with failure? Frank, don't talk to your father that way. He tried his best. Ignore him and talk to Diana. Are you in a better mood than your brother? What about you, Papa? I know you're sad, but failure helps us grow, right? Exactly. Now, where did you learn that? From you. Ouch. You've been awfully quiet, Monica. I just want to focus on having a nice time at the movies. Monica folded her arms and we drove on in silence. Serge rolled down the soundproof glass between us. Sir, we're about to enter Ullery. We'll be at the cinema in a few minutes. Good, thanks for telling me. I took a brief look outside as Serge rolled the soundboard glass up again. I could see the many towers of Ullery rising over what was left of the old city walls. Serge knocked on the glass and gestured forwards. We were at the... Oh, pardon me, lads. That one came out of the blue. We were at the main square of Ullery, and the historic Cinema Anglais, the Cinema of Angels, was right in front of us. I thought it was going to be Cinema of Englishmen. Is this the place? Yep. It was an old Baroque-style corner building with walls that looked like marble from a distance. There were exquisite ornaments on every side of every window. Don't know about you lads, but I find this soap opera stuff a bit tedious. Mr. President, how are you handling the defeat of your constitutional reforms in the Assembly? I will respect the Assembly's decision. Thank you, Mr. President. Were you aware that Tarquin Sol would be present at the proceedings? Of course I was. Before she could ask anything else, the guards ushered us inside the theatre. In contrast with the cinema's Baroque-style exterior, the inside was modern and sleek, with bare walls painted in black, red and white. Good combo. The film's cast and crew were already in the foyer with glasses of champagne in their hands. We organised the crowd and were welcomed by the producers and the event organisers. A man walked up to us with quick steps. Madame, Mr. President, it is so good to see you here. He gently bowed at Monica and shook our hands. It's an honour to meet you. I'm Alfred Kubrick. Alfred Kubrick? Alan Kubrick. What's Kubrick's first name? The honour is mine, Mr. Kubrick. I'm a big fan of your work. Frank snorted. I glanced at him, and he innocently took a sip of his cola. Oh, it's very humbling to know that you've been watching and enjoying my movies. If you don't mind me asking, which one was your favourite? This one may be slightly different than my previous works. I loved The Swordfish Dream, The Man Who Saved the World. He stared at me for a while as if trying to understand if I was joking or not. That's by Mikel Vargas, Mr. President. I beat my film The Swordfish Dream for the top prize at the Benfey Festival last year. Oh, bit of a faux pas there. Why don't we take our seats? It's about to start. We entered the screening room. The lights dimmed and the film began. It was a period drama set in the 1870s about a Swedish soldier who pursues a doomed romance with a widowed Bludish farmer during the conquest of Bergia. Struth. What is this? Dostoevsky? I briefly wondered whether Chabuk was commenting on my own treatment of the Bludish people, but then he had finished filming long before I became president. As the credits rolled, I made an early exit to use the men's room. I was washing my hands when I heard an unmistakable voice behind me. So, what did you think? Huh? Tarquin's soul leaned on his cane. He had the same frail appearance I'd noticed at the assembly meeting, yet up close I could still sense the raw magnetism that had kept him in power for 20 years. I found the plot questionable, but it certainly looked spectacular. What about yourself? Sentimental pablum for the enjoyment of housewife only, and for period piece script contained far too many anachronisms. Indubitably. Surprised to see you're still around, sir. What were you doing at the assembly? Enough small talk. Why were you at the assembly vote? My country was about to make a rash decision. I couldn't simply sit by. And are you pleased with the outcome? Quite. There was a glint in his eye. But why did you block my reforms? I will not let you and that bleeding heart idiot Richter tarnish my precious constitution. I'm doing this for the good of the country. Ha! Some of his spittle landed on my cheek. Oh, gross. You'll find out soon enough how your country repays you for your goodness. He slipped past me and out the door. Was that a threat? Or was he just saying no good deed goes unpunished? Probably the ambiguity is the actual attack. Sol's security staff and mine were now clustered outside the washroom, forming a buffer against the large crowd that had gathered. "That's Tarquin Sol!" I heard someone scream. His guards closed around him and mine around me. By the time the chaos subsided, I was back in the car with my family, and Sol was long gone. Interesting. Do you reckon I should have him, What do you reckon, lads? Probably a bit on the nose, isn't it? Alright. Whole Sword Post. Rain and Sol meet at Kubrick screening. New law on education of Swedish language. Yeah, we know all that stuff. New language bill, a milestone for integration. One film, two very special guests. What does the radical have to say? Washroom summit. Rain signs racist bill. Yeah, well, of course they would say that, wouldn't they? Alright, what do we got here? Report from Dyer. Bludish students drop school in protest. Oh yeah, anything for a day off. And what do we got here? Briefing on the diplomatic strategy. Dinner with the family at home. Ceremonial duty for the day of dissension. Read the report from Uzerin. Bill signed. Protest in Bergia. Alright. Yeah, I would expect that. It's the Bludish stronghold. Alright, briefing on diplomatic strategy. Here we go, lads. This is the real meat. The doors to the White Room, like everything else in the Maroon Palace's main nerve centre, were painted white. I took a deep breath before pushing them open. Time for yet another meeting. At least this time it was with people who liked me. The attendees rose up from their seats. Mr. President. Joseph nodded. He and Lucian sat down while David remained standing. Now that you're here, let's talk about our diplomatic strategy. Mr. President, if I may, I would like to provide you with a short overview of where we are at right now. Great. Do love a decision maker's brief. Go right ahead. Although we did not make a trade deal with Agnolia, we succeeded in making one with Valen, which means we have increased our presence in the region. These deals were important pieces of leverage and significant first steps to the global arena. We must now look towards the future. It's time to take the next steps, precisely. Hopefully he's going to say we got a message saying we can join ATO if we want, and I'll go, fantastic, rubber stamp it, and then we'll be done. David sat down, pulled out a few papers and started going through them as he kept talking. I mean, like, the historical analogy is perfectly obvious, right? I don't have to explain that, but in terms of where we're going, if we're playing free market, we want to align with ATO if at all possible, so that once we have a defensive alliance, if Rumburg attacks, then we'll have other countries that will back us up in the war, particularly Lesbia. I haven't heard anything from them, and that's making me sketchy. I don't understand why they haven't got in touch with us. If it was up to me, I would have sent them a diplomatic communique on day one going, well, you guys are fantastic. How about a trade deal and a diplomatic deal and a defence agreement? What do I have to give you in order to make it happen? Plus also those some nice missiles, and will you sell us some thermonuclear weapons, please? But, you know, Valen and Agnolia were practice runs. We must begin by improving our relationship with greater nations. We need to elevate our international standing, especially with the threat of Rumburg looming. Joseph cleared his throat. Thanks to your wise investments, Swordland's army is on its way to becoming a force to be reckoned with. Whether it is Rumburg or anyone else, we can handle outside threats just fine. We don't need to beg for help anymore. Oh yeah, okay. You're right, I will not let Swordland look weak. A military perspective is important, but these deals are about more than just gaining allies. Really? We also need to consider the benefits to our economy such deals will provide. Yeah, my priorities are allies first, economy second. Especially when we are still struggling to end the recession. What? I thought we'd finished with that. David took a seat and brought out 2 stacks of documents. At the start of the term, I had a comprehensive trade deal plan laid out. Following the visits to Valen and Agnolia, we were to pursue potential trade deals with 2 greater nations. Valgsland is one of them. If we can manage to get them to the table, there is much more potential here than in Valen or Agnolia. Because they are one of the most important countries in CSP, a deal with Valgsland is a ticket to bring Swordland closer to the United Kontanen sphere. Dealing with countries in CSP is dangerous. A simple trade deal wouldn't cause issues unless we decide to go further. Alright, well, if we can get away with having a financial trade deal, but it won't exclude us from ATO, then I would absolutely do that. Moving on to Lesbia. Our southern neighbour is one of the wealthiest countries in eastern Merkapa. A trade deal with them would be very beneficial, not just for our economy, but also for our regional and international presence. Fantastic. Not to mention that they are in the Arcasian sphere. A trade deal with Lesbia could open many doors for us. True, a country as influential as Lesbia could help elevate our economy. That's it for the overview. As to the actual contents of the trade deal, the investment we have made in the Bergiev region has yielded positive results. Lucian? Lucian pulled out his small notebook and quickly flipped through the pages until he landed on the right one. Looking at my stats here, the investment helped increase the wheat output of the region. Good. We now have a surplus, which makes an excellent resource for trade. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need to know your decision before we can proceed. What should we do? Begin negotiations with both. Excellent news. I will begin at once. That was all I had for today. Thank you for coming. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, that was a brief meeting. Alright. I guess we have to wait for time to pass until we can get on to the results of those. Port of Lockhaven gains new importance. Following the completion of the L1 high-speed railway, the Port of Lockhaven has been experiencing higher traffic than ever. An increasing number of businesses are now choosing to ship their goods by boat as a result of the more efficient transport process. Yes! Hell yeah, lads. That is fantastic news. Read the report from Gelsword. As in the rest of Swordland, Wilkers and Guelph are bearing the brunt of the recession. The manufacturing sector has been hit particularly hard as a record number of factory workers filed for unemployment over the past month. Okay, I don't know how both of these can be true at the same time. It doesn't make any sense to me. Read the report from Sana. Sana has experienced a 15% increase in agricultural output over the last 2 years. Employment in the agricultural sector has been rising commensurately. The boom is thought to be a direct result of the investments made in the Bergia region. Fantastic. So that just means that the people that are here in, what's this town called? Galsord, need to move to Sana and take up agricultural positions rather than industrial positions. Admittedly, that's a step down, but it does mean that they still get to keep their job, keep a job, which obviously is really important. Currency loses value against the Arcasian lira. Financial reports show that the Swedish Ren has steadily been slipping against the Arcasian lira, though the exchange rate has not yet approached the all-time low reached during the Alfonso administration. Well, that's fine. All that means is that our exporters, and remember we're now a grain exporter and we have efficient exportation methods, so that will probably help our economy more than anything else. In fact, I would even consider artificially holding down our not inflation rate, whatever you call it, you know what I mean, exchange rate, in order to encourage our exports so that we can gain access to that sweet, sweet foreign currency. Okay, what else? Read the report from Dyer, the Valen trade report. Trade deal struck with Valen continues to bear fruit as Bergia sees an upward trend in agricultural exports. Manufacturing industries are also celebrating the decreased production costs that have resulted from the uptick in production of Vejek oil in the aftermath of the Operation Bear Trap. Fantastic. So these guys here really have nothing to worry about. Just grit their teeth, sit on unemployment for like 4 months, and then once the jobs start rolling in, they'll go great. Homelessness among Bluetish decreases. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. What do we got here? Ceremonial duty. No thanks. And what do we got here? Dinner with family at home. That's also a little bit of a soap opera, that one. Alright, let's read the news. Isolated polio cases seen in Bergia. Yeah, but we maintained the hospitalisation with a little bit of privatisation, so only seen in a minute percentage of cases, but there's no need to alter the Swedish way of life. Good. Polio cases explode in Bergia. What? Confined to just a few villages which are now under strict quarantine. Okay, sweet, that's being taken care of. Geopolitico. Rain will visit both Valsland and Lesbia for a trade deal. President Rain has scheduled visits to both Lesbia and Valsland to discuss possible trade deals with leaders of both countries. It is unclear what the goal of these trade talks will be. Making a massive bundle of cash, and also potentially opening the door to alliances. Although some insiders speculate that Rain is hoping to gather allies, there you go, in anticipation of an eventual confrontation with Rumburg. Exactly right. What is clear is that it will be hard to negotiate with both Valsland and Lesbia simultaneously without choosing sides between either Arcasia or United Contana. We will choose Arcasia. Glad to see that the talking heads and ex-policy wonks, haven't lost their touch. Alright. That's it for today. Thanks, lads. That's the list of decisions that we made and their results. I'll see you next time. Aha, here we go. Let me grab my headphones. Perfect timing.
How's it going there, bud?
Yeah, pretty good, eh? Just, doing the necessary. What's going on?
Well, it's Australia Day today.
Yeah, Australia Fair.
Yeah.
Advance.
Yeah, public. Yeah, public holiday and all that sort of stuff. But it's really good, especially in the terms of. Let me see now. I'm starting a little thing called Hypocrisy of the Month Award.
Oh, nice. You'll have plenty of choices to choose from. No bloody shortage there.
hang on, where the hell are you? I can't see you. Can I see you? Where are you?
Can you see me all
Can you
right?
see me?
Yeah,
I can't see
I
you.
can see you fine.
Yeah, I can't see you.
All right, it might be because I've got OBS running. Let me turn that